Are you feeling like a zombie lately? Tired of the same old energy drinks promising the world but delivering the jitters and a crash? Look no further than Sneak Energy, your secret weapon for all your energy needs. With all natural ingredients, Sneak will give you all the energy you need to boost through your day without feeling like a lab rat on caffeine. Don't believe us? Try it yourself and see what a difference it can make to your routine. So what are you waiting for? Hit the link in the description and pick up your Sneak Starter Pack today. Now enjoy the clip. Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United breaking news as the Glazers choose Sir Jim Ratcliffe as their preferred bidder, according to breaking news that came in late last night. There's two big things I would say about this, whether it's true or not. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe has apparently been chosen by the Glazers as their preferred bidder. I mean, obviously the two things that I would say straight away is, one, this is not guaranteed to be true. It could well be true. They're saying it's coming from insiders. We'll go into that in a minute. So it could well be true. And it's not the first time we've heard this in the last couple of weeks that the Glazers are going to go down this route. So of course it could be true. Let's not dismiss it as, opinion that it's not true when it could be true. And we'll talk about what the ramifications of that would be, because if it happens, we've lost those people who don't want this to happen. And the second point is, what we don't want to happen is, and I refute this wholeheartedly, is that this fan base has not been championing Qatar. This is not what it's championing. It's not championing sports washing or abuses against human rights or anything else negative that the press and other people want to portray Qatar as. That is not what this fan base has been after for the last 17 years. Because Al Thani and Qatar only came out in the last 7 months. This fan base wants, as a majority, the Glazers out of our football club. This rhetoric of story that it's Sir Jim against Al Thani and Sir Jim might not be as bad as people think. Maybe that will be the case. I don't know. But what Sir Jim represents is the Glazers staying. So whether you're disappointed about Sir Jim getting the club and Al Thani not getting the club, it was never about getting Al Thani into the club. It was about removing the Glazers from the club. It was about a full sale. So wherever you sit on this morning, and whether this is true or not, the fans have lost, and it'll be very interesting to see what the reaction is to it if Sir Jim does get hold of the club, because I personally have seen no evidence that this is good for Manchester United in the long run, because the Glazers will still be there, and I am not going to sit there and be okay with some fake promise that in 3 years' time we might remove Joel and Avram by paying them a shitload more money than you'd pay them now. How does that work? Where does that money come from? I don't like this deal. I think it stinks, and it's nothing to do with Sir Jim. I think it stinks to high heaven because you're keeping the Glazers and you're doing a deal with the Glazers. And I can't move away from what I and many people said a month ago when we were talking about the Elliott Group. Anybody who does a deal with the Glazers and keeps them in there is an enemy of the club. And I'm not going to move away from that. That's for Sir Jim to prove. It's not for me to prove. It's not for you to prove. That's for Sir Jim to prove. I will call him out as an enemy of this football club for doing a deal with the Glazers. And the reason I will do it is not for some sensationalist rant, because I've seen for the last 18 years what the Glazers have done to this football club. Old Trafford is visibly rotting because of them. The team has gone from the best team in England, consistently winning things with a brilliant squad and a brilliant ground, to a team that's basically Spurs' rival. The club's on its knees because of these people, and you're going to do a deal with them. I don't agree with that. When there's an option for somebody to come in and buy it in its entirety, I don't agree with that. But what I will say is, we have got, what choice have we got? What if this is the case? What choice have we got? We just have to do what we've done. And people will say, well, if you don't like it, don't support the club. Many people didn't like the Glazers. They still support the club. I'm not going to turn my back on the club because I support the club for a very different reason to the Glazers or Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I support the club because it's the club that was handed to me from my granddad. Because he grew up absolutely worshipping Duncan Edwards. So there's a story as to why I support this club, and it won't be taken away from me by greedy people who I don't think are good enough for this football club. I'll just have to hope, like I have done for the last 17 years, that we can still be successful. But to be honest with you, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe does a deal with the Glazers, I think if I'm a Man City fan, I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm rubbing my hands together and saying they're never competing. They're never competing with that business model. So we'll have to wait and see. What do you think of this combo? We don't get top four. Liverpool does, City win the treble and Glazers stay on. I don't know what we're talking about that for. Hi, Mark. If the choice is less Glazer influence or existing Glazer influence, surely less is better. I'm no Ryle. No, I'm not talking about this. That's like saying, do you want someone to shit on your head for 5 minutes, or do you want them to do it for a minute? Like, it's still being shit on. I don't get how. Look, everybody's different, of course, but some people justify things by going, well, it's shit, but it's not as shit as it is before. When there's an option of something that's completely what we want, we'll have to put up with this. If this is what's going to happen, we'll have to put up with it. Of course we will. Nobody's denying that. We're powerless. And we will be victim of spin. We're going to buy this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. We will be spun around by PR like we have done. But the thing is, like, I know what's going to happen if Sir Jim gets hold of the club. We're going to be spun around. There'll be so much positivity of what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. I would say to those fans who fall for it, where have you been for the last 10 years? We've been spun for the last 10 years. We've won nothing. We've done nothing significant, but we've been told for 10 years we're going to do this. There's nothing we can't do. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We don't do it. I look at the way that club would be structured with the Glazers staying, and that's the thing for me. I don't care what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan is. I really do not care what you're going to do, because there's two people still in this football club that shouldn't be here, and they own 20% of it. And I don't believe that they're staying on to take an extra 100 million in a couple of years' time. I really don't. The Sun reported it was Qatar the other day before it was Sir Jim Ratcliffe's silver. And Mark, there are PSG ultras protesting the circus they've created in Paris. They understand that despite the league title, they've lost the club's soul, says Live. Well, look, let's go to where we are with this, because ultimately there's a very good point that I said at the start, and that is that this may not actually turn out to be true. So let's have a look at this. So this came out last night, and it is coming from the Sun, that the Glazers are finally ready to sell Manchester United with Sir Jim Ratcliffe the preferred bidder. This is coming from Dan King and Martin Lipton from the Sun. Now, Martin Lipton, for years ago, used to be on the Sunday Supplement on Sky Sports. He's a well-known football journalist. Have the Sun got the scoop on this story? I very much doubt it. But to be fair, about 11 days ago, there were stories coming out, I think from Mike Keegan and a couple of other people, about this anyway. So would this be an exclusive, or would this just be a confirmation of something people were talking about 11 days ago? You've got to consider that. It could be nonsense. It could be absolutely nail on the head. So, look, I don't know. The next bit is Old Trafford insiders have indicated the Glazers would prefer to sell majority control to Ratcliffe's Ineos Sport rather than giving the whole club to Sheikh Jassim. This obviously would be because this allows Joel and Avram to stay. They never wanted to leave the club. So what would happen is Sir Jim would buy the look, we know this. Sir Jim would buy out the other Glazer siblings, of which I think there are 4. He would own just over 50%. And then Joel and Avram would have about 20% between them, and the remaining 30% would be on the New York Stock Exchange. We can dive into this if you want, but ultimately it always comes down to the fact that I don't give a toss what Sir Jim is offering. I've defended Sir Jim. I've heard people call him a Chelsea fan because he had a Chelsea season ticket and he tried to buy Chelsea. I've defended Sir Jim on that. I actually do think he's a Man United fan. I do think he's Manchester born and bred, and I do think he is a Manchester United fan, and I do think he'd rather buy Man United than Chelsea. So I've stuck up for him for that. It's not that I like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and last August I quite liked the idea of him over anybody. What I don't like is I think we've been played as a fan base. I think he's played his part in it. I think we've been led down the garden path over the last 6 months that Man United's up for sale. And I personally think the Glazers have been working with Sir Jim and American investors for the last 8 months on this very